all began at St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church on 4th Street in Philadelphia, an all-white congregation. Richard Allen and his fellow churchmen would attend St. George's regularly. A problem arose when the numbers of African Americans began to increase. St. George's first remedy was to have them all stand around the walls during worship. But the numbers continued to increase. So what they did was they moved them up to the gallery, but not the entire gallery. A section of the gallery was cordoned off for them to sit. So one Sunday morning, as they were entering church, the sexton was standing at the door directing them to the place in the gallery that they were to sit. As they were walking in, the music was ending and the prayer was beginning. So they all kneeled down. And after a while, Reverend Allen heard a scuffle behind him. And when he looked, he saw a trustee trying to pull Reverend Absalom Jones up off of his knees. "You can't kneel here. You can't kneel here," is what he said. So Reverend Jones said, "Okay, let's wait until the prayer is over and I will get up and move." That wasn't enough for the trustee. The trustee called for help. And so they struggled and finally got Reverend Jones up on his feet. But by that time, prayer had ended. So Reverend Allen and his fellow churchmen stood up and walked out of St. George's, never to return again. Shortly after that, Reverend Allen founded and organized the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Though the first General Conference wasn't until 1816, Reverend Allen considered the founding of the church in 1787, the year that they stood up and walked out of St. George's because of racial discrimination. In 1801, Reverend Allen published the first hymn book for the AME Church. But strangely, that hymn book is not mentioned in the hymnological history of the AME Church, not until Eileen Southern in 1970 brought it to the forefront, made it a part of the history. She surmises that the book was not recognized because Reverend Allen published it individually, and he did not go through the Methodist Publishing Board. But it was well received, to the point that Reverend Allen published the second edition in the same year, 1801. In this one, there were 64 songs, 64 hymns, as opposed to the first one that had 54. The title of the hymn book was A Collection of Hymns and Spirituals by various artists. Reverend Allen was ordained the first bishop of the AME Church at the first General Conference in 1816. He was ordained by 4 of the church's elders, along with Reverend Absalom Jones, who was a priest in the Protestant Episcopal Church. A couple of years after Reverend Allen was ordained bishop, they published the first official hymn book for the AME Church, and it was called the African Methodist Pocket Hymn Book. Reverend Allen remained the sole bishop of the AME Church until 1828, when Morris Brown was also ordained a bishop. Did you know?